This episode of the Into the Void podcast is brought to you by HelloFresh, Blue Apron, NatureBox. Anybody? Come on, school costs as much as a house. You need a couple hundred jobs to pay the rent. I'm overworked and underpaid. I'm hungry.
Into the void.
Pull yourself together, Sean. Ryan's gone still. I'm on hiatus number 4 or 5. I'm like the Bob's Burgers of podcasters. I get it started, and then something happens, and then I quit for a while, and then I come back with a reopening. I'm about 12 reopenings. I'll have a banner that stretches across the block. Into the Void podcast, grand reopening, so on and so forth. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Into the Void podcast, the show with a title that has 3 meanings, where we're screaming, our relevancy in the American culture, and our trajectory in the iTunes ratings. Ryan is still not here. Unfortunately, I hear he's in political asylum for coming out as a straight white male. So, good luck out there, Ryan. We're all pulling for you. Say hello to Edward Snowden for me. All right. So, someday, I haven't heard anything. I'm trying to bring this show back yet again. Started last year. Things went slightly awry, and then I had to go on another hiatus. But I'm hoping that we can pull it together and make another run at things, and hopefully this one will stay more consistent. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. I kind of had to build a little makeshift studio here. This time I'm not just chilling out in the closet of my parents' guest room in order to get the good audio quality. I actually can sit in a chair and figure it out. But I got an interesting email, actually. I guess from a fan. I guess our one and only listener. Maybe it was just Ryan playing a trick on me, but let me pull it up real quick. The email, in order to reach us at Into the Void, right now the actual podcast name is, we're still trying to get onto our social media and whatnot and attempt to actually be able to post through the actual show. We locked out of our email, the actual Into the Void cast at gmail.com. I'm pretty sure that's the name of it. Still trying to get into that. We're still trying to get into the Facebook. I think I may have cracked the code on that password. Unfortunately, I've been on Facebook for a long time, and I don't know how to do it anymore, and I don't care to know how to do it anymore. I'm actually a much happier person in general without it. And all I have now is Instagram, and according to the number of followers and posts I can make at all, I should probably quit while I'm ahead on that one too. But I still yet to pull a trigger on that, because sometimes I do get time to take pictures and post them on there for people to scroll through while they go look for girls with their asses hanging out. But can't help me for trying. So the email here, Right now, the email is going to be at SE, the first two letters of my first name, SE Dooley, Dooley, which is my full last name, the number 8 at gmail.com. So SE Dooley 8 at gmail.com. That's the only way I'm able to access emails from the podcast until we, wherever Ryan is. Maybe he's out cracking codes and getting us into our social media accounts again. That being the case, though, that's the email that will be for now. I'm thinking of creating a podcast Instagram page to kind of make it easier, and it seems like people are kind of flooding towards that more anyways. And that way we can just blast out all sorts of good podcast goodness and figure out or get it all out there to the masses as much as possible. My dog needs food, so I'd like to be able to pay for that, and this is how I am stupid enough to figure out how to do that. So without further ado, says, hey guys, hey three guys, basically referencing our old show that we had for a long time, probably our most successful iteration so far, our Attitude Era of podcasts of sorts with me, Ryan, and Sebastian. I like your show. I like the dynamic of you three. I was hoping to see whenever you guys would get back together again, or if you will get back together again. If not, I heard you say on one of your previous shows last year, long wait of course, that you're retiring from politics. What exactly does that mean? Why did you do it? And does that mean that if you guys ever got back together again, that would be a whole topic off the table? You guys seem to cover most of the political spectrum. Sebastian seemingly coming off a little more left-wing. Ryan a little bit more right-wing, and Sean, right off the Richter scale of sanity. Well, I added that one in, but a little bit more right as well, along with Ryan maybe. You know, I am not quite so sure about that. I did say that. I'm not sure if we're going to get back together again at this point anytime soon. I haven't heard from Sebastian in a while, but hopefully he's doing all right, and hopefully we can be in contact pretty soon. You know, since then, I'm not sure where the other guys lie politically or anything. I think in general we were all pretty politically active, and it was cool that we all kind of did have a little bit of nuances in our beliefs, so we kind of covered all the ground, and we did it in a semi-civilized way. First of all, I think as we all know, the political spectrum is a little more nuanced than just left, middle, right. I think there's a lot of times where we met at the same spot, and there was times that we kind of separated a little bit in terms of what we do and don't agree with. And there are things that I don't necessarily agree with the right on. There's other things I don't necessarily agree with the left on. And I think that goes for both of them. I'm relatively aware that people are becoming more politically active than ever. And that's kind of the reason why I quit, why I'm kind of dipping out of it for now. I mean, I'm sitting there and looking at the way the world is, and just kind of over it, you know. And that's kind of why I decided to, quote, retire. That was kind of more of a facetious thing, or ironic or coincidental or sarcastic, whatever word it says that you said something that you don't actually mean. I guess we'll call that presidential. I don't know where they lie anymore in terms of their politics. I know where I lie in terms of my politics. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we will talk about it more when we get there. Maybe we'll stop. I, for one, would just like to protect my sanity and my blood pressure. Unfortunately, we're in a time and place that is really, really divided and tribal, if you will. And I just don't really think there's a whole lot much that I can add to the political conversation anymore. And I'd like to just talk about other things in terms of what I like and what I dislike. Sorry, I got really balmy in the hidden studio where I'm at right now. And I'm having a hard time keeping my dry mouth away. But anyways, yeah. So I will say though, yeah, we had a good dynamic in terms of political discussion between the three of us. I don't think that I really want to anymore, and that had to do with me dropping out of Facebook too. Man, this is just really hard ground to cover here because everything is so charged and really, what should I say? Like highly flammable in terms of where you can go anymore and what you can say anymore in terms of politics. But yes, I'm done talking about Trump. I really am. I think all that is said can be said about him. I think that he's gonna do what he's gonna do, and I'm not necessarily giving up or surrendering, but I mean, here's the bottom line here, and I just don't want to talk about Trump anymore. I really don't. Anyone else got something new to the table they can bring to the conversation? No? No? Yeah? Yeah, I'm not. I don't think so. I mean, everything that's said about him can be said already. It has been said already in really vile ways, for one. And I, for one, I'm not necessarily a Trump supporter, but the amount of vitriol that comes from the left is astounding. I'm just gonna say everything I need to say now, and then we'll call it quits from here. How's that? All right? Is that good? Yep. Okay. So when Obama got elected, everyone had a big old freak out on the right. And they were like, I even heard things in the rumor mill that he was the Antichrist because of the one prophecy about him coming out of nowhere, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, the Democrats were like, no, we knew he was coming. We're the ones who ushered him in. But still, those rumors, and I did go to a Christian school during the election process, which probably swayed that bias a little more. But still, people were like, oh my gosh, he's the Antichrist. This is the world's ending, blah, 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 blah. And 8 years later, here we are. We're still here. And now, I'm currently hearing that from the left about Trump. I'm hearing many, many things about guys calling him like Hitler and calling him Satan and that he's doing Satan's work, blah, 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 and the world's meeting its imminent doom. And now the left has the lovely eschatology that the right had before. It doesn't. That idea doesn't change. It only changes from one group saying it to the next group saying it, and that's a big problem. I think that is happening in political culture. Is it's so divided that we're now deciding whose team are we on, and you have to pick my side or it's their side. And if it's their side, you are the devil. You're from the devil. You're a devil spawn. Something devil. And we must like convert you or whatever, as if you can convert the devil. You kind of split your own logic there. And so it started seeing that about summer 2016 was when it was really ramping up, of course, during election season. And that was about the time I was like, okay, let's dip off of Facebook now. I think I'm done with that because, as I said before, I even said it on my last days on Facebook that I think that I felt like Donald Trump's election was a bit of an Andy Kaufman sketch, if you will. I do think Joe Rogan was right in the sense where he was like, at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, Barack Obama at one point made a joke that while I'm standing up here, Donald Trump, you'll never be one thing, and that's the president. And Trump being Trump, he was like, oh, you want to bet, bud? I bet I could do that. And look where we are now. And, you know, it's kind of funny how people forget, especially the media, they like to forget that a lot of the Republicans and stuff were like, no, we don't want this guy. Please don't have this guy. We don't want this guy. Please. They were fighting Trump all along the way. Now, he still won the primary, much to the chagrin of the Republican Party, but much like the left and the Democratic Party, they had to follow suit. They had to get behind the guy and be like, all right, here we go. They're like the reluctant, you know, parent that was supporting their kid, basically. And so I think that happened, and then obviously people were like, there's no way that Trump's going to beat Hillary. Hillary's got this one in the bag, and oops! There he goes again, winning and stuff. And now everyone treated that as like, oh no, this is the death of the country. Oh my gosh, I can't believe America is such a blah, 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 blah. I can't believe America has fallen this far and you drove us back. How many years of progress, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's kind of how it's always worked, you know? And anytime someone, you know, says anything from the outside looking in, just analyzing the situation, but it doesn't agree with what they want, get out. They don't want you. They don't want you anymore. You're a bigot. You're an alt-righter. They love to throw that word around. It's a great little, secret word for Nazi or neo-Nazi. Well, a lot of alt-righters are, and that's true. But a lot of people are just plain reasonable. And when people see that, and they're like, okay, guys, let's chill out, then all of a sudden you're a Nazi? Not really seeing how that's the case. But that's the problem in the political discourse anymore. You can't have a conversation anymore. You can't just have a nice disagreement or hashing out ideas, philosophies, ethics, all sorts of things like that, and being friends the next day. Well, let me tell you something about me, Ryan, and Sebastian. Things may have gotten pretty heated at certain points on the podcast or whatever in terms of discussion and concentration, or like teams and discussion and discourse. There's the word I was looking for. I'll get there one of these days. But after that, we went to Chipotle and appropriated Mexican culture by eating a burrito and having a few laughs. And I think that's a big thing that's missing now, especially in everyday conversation. People used to be Republican and Democrat, and they used to be able to talk and be friends outside of a political discourse. You don't change minds by shutting people out. You just don't. The only time you're going to change someone's mind is if you present a good idea forward and talk it out. Talk about why your idea doesn't work in some ways, why it does work in some ways, why their idea works in some ways, and why theirs doesn't work in some ways. And somewhere in the middle, usually you find a common ground anyways. But there's no common ground anymore, and that's because the media and the government, working in tandem, are trying to split the people and the average day citizens apart. They're trying to make it more divisive by forcing class against class. They're forcing race against race, and they're forcing socioeconomic, or I already said class. Wow, Sean, way to pay attention. class against class, race against race, coast against coast, people against other people, or political party versus political party. They're trying to divide and conquer. That's the MO. And that's how it's always worked in politics, and that's how it's pretty much always going to be. And the best thing that you can do is have a united people, at least, instead of a divided government. First of all, our United States government was, I'm not trying to do a history lesson here, but you kind of got to just get where the context is, because people forget about context. Context is a lost word in this new generation of media and public discourse. All they want is to take a little snippet out of here, put it on their blog, get a bunch of clicks, and it's done. I'm pretty sure I've already said about 2,600 inflammatory things to some people already, and so I'm well prepared for any sort of comments or rage that comes my way if I'm able to even thread the needle of the Richter scale of public influence. So be it. Anyways, where was I? Man, I'm like hopped up on caffeine or something. I don't know what it is. But anyways, that's what they want to do, divide and conquer, and it's working. And you're, setting up people for failure, and then they're blaming it on you. And that's what they're doing. They're saying that the economy is in the shits because of you. They're saying that, all the chaos and like violence that's happening is because of you, because you aren't law-abiding citizens that can handle owning a gun. And they're trying to say that you can't handle having your own property rights, which is pretty much the very thing that this country was actually founded on. Other than religious freedom, it was property rights, because the British government was able just to take over because they decided they needed it. And a lot of times they use the funny phrase we're using now as national security. That's what they used to say it was for. It was to win and wage wars. I'm also not going to get into the nuance of history lessons, because I'm sure plenty of historians will try to call bullshit on that. But that's essentially, though, the basis of this country was religion, just freedom in general. I get to own my stuff and take care of my stuff the way I see fit if it doesn't hurt you. And I get to practice whatever religion I want, and the government doesn't get in the way. The separation of church was because the government is not supposed to take over religion or make you practice a religion that you don't want to practice. And so, that being the case, nowadays, they're trying to manipulate you with technology like smartphones or podcasts, LOL, into signing away your rights without even realizing that you're doing it. And it's happening on both sides. This isn't a party issue. This is a government and the citizenship issue. But no one will notice that or see that until people just stop blindly following whatever party line that they're supposed to be attuned to. And it's going to keep continuing if people aren't active and led by reason. And that's not present anymore, reason. I think another dead and buried word, just like context. I mean, just look at a college campus. Good Lord. Yeah, I've never met such dumb people in my life. I'm serious. I'm going to say it. I don't care if I offend them. I don't care if I'm considered part of the college group because I'm of that age and I'm still in college, which I will get to in future episodes. I'm going to finish that story. But there's just some of the dumbest people you've ever met. And the problem is it's the teachers and the professors, the ones that are brainwashing them like that. They might as well be rolling around head over heels because their head's so far up their ass, they don't even know what they're talking about. They're just miming whatever that their professors tell them, because these professors to them are just like rock stars. Forget about actual rock stars anymore. It's the professors that are the ones up on stage and dancing around doing the, playing the hits or whatever. I mean, every sign on a college campus should say, "There's no reasonable out here," because that's how it is. You come in with a reasonable argument or just anything, poking a hole in their warped logic, the warped way they see the world, and they call you a bigot. They call you a Nazi. They call you someone who's hateful or whatever. And one of the biggest things that drives me nuts here is the cultural appropriation argument. Now, I understand it's comical to see white guys dressed up like black guys, acting like black guys, but they're actually white guys, like the whitest of the white guys. And it's a little offensive to play on stereotypes, blah, 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 blah. But I think a lot of times, too, that ends when you're talking about Halloween as well, because that's what Halloween is for. You're supposed to dress up in fun costumes. I mean, honestly, when you really think about it, if you're going to talk about the cultural appropriation argument, what about the holiday that's coming up, St. Paddy's Day? I mean, isn't that nothing but Irish cultural appropriation, and based on weirdly caricature-y and narrow-minded stereotypes of Irish people, that they're just a bunch of short little redheads looking for their pot of gold, and they can't even live without their Lucky Charms, and but they can never find it because they're so drunk off of Guinness all the time, and for some reason the Guinness is green. Cultural appropriation back in the day used to be learning about other cultures. I remember seeing the video of, I think it was President Bush in a dashiki in Africa, looking like a moron, dancing around and making a bit of a fool himself. But he was having fun, and he was connecting with the people over there. Is there anything really wrong with that? I mean, back in the day, when I was a kid, I used to talk about, ask people about this stuff all the time when we had friends that were from Harlem that came over and visited like once a year. Like, they would ask stuff about what's over here in Oregon, and we'd ask stuff about what's over in Harlem and what it's like over there, because we never been. I've never been east of Hermiston, Oregon. I have never even been to Idaho. And so there's a lot to learn. And you can't learn if you're not open to like absorbing certain aspects of culture. I mean, that's what American life is about. It's a bunch of different cultures that come together and assimilating to a general culture. You got Indians, you got Indians from India, you got black people, you got white people, you got Italians, you got Irish, you got Asians, you got Hispanic, you got all sorts of populations coming together and forming a one overarching culture, and you take bits and pieces from each of that culture. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how you learn. How else do you learn how to make a good pasta sauce? How else do you learn how to make a good burrito or taco? How else do you learn how to know how to use potatoes or cook cabbage or corned beef? How do you know how to make jambalaya or whatever? This cultural appropriation stuff is such nonsense, because you're shutting yourself out based on stereotypes. Isn't that what racism is? You're shutting other people out. You're shutting other people out based on their skin color and from appropriating other people's culture. Based on stereotypes, you're acknowledging those stereotypes exist in that other race. Because you're saying, oh no, don't wear a sombrero or a poncho if you're not Mexican, because they're the only ones allowed to wear it. Well, guess what? I'm around Mexicans all the time. I don't see them wear any of that stuff. The only time I've ever seen it is if it was a mariachi band, and they're wearing normal clothes, like with the jackets and pants, and then they wear the Stetson hats or whatever. It's not a full-on sombrero or whatever. they're normal people too. And I think that I understand, like, that's where you get the confusion of, oh, well, it's a stereotype that doesn't exist. Sure. But a lot of times, the biggest lessons learned through mistakes. Do you learn anything by getting it right the first time? I never have. Believe me, I made many, many, many mistakes. And the best way to do or learn from those mistakes is making them mistakes. People screw up all the time. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how you grow as a human being. You're not allowing people to grow as a human being. If you truly are a progressive, let people progress. Instead, you're holding people back based on their skin color. Like, it's automatically a default that if you're white, you're a racist that owns slaves. And that's wildly untrue. And then there's this false narrative that basically that white people are just out looking to shoot everybody that's of a different color and doing it in a systematic way. Let me tell you this. There are some people out there that are like that. That are actually like that. And being the boy who cried wolf and accusing every little thing of being racist or bigoted allows those other people that are actually hateful and vitriolic to slip through the cracks. Because they can just caricaturize your side and say, oh, well, you just call everyone racist. But then they can actually be racist and act upon that. All right? As the United States, we fought a bloody war against ourselves to systematically abolish slavery. We were one of, if not the first countries that abolished slavery as a governmental law. There's still slavery to this day as law in other countries. So your little it's 2017 or it's 2018 argument is bullshit. It doesn't matter. Oh, thanks. You just successfully stated a year. All you said was something that was on the calendar. Cool. Thanks for giving me the update on the current time. Can you tell me what time of the day it is, what the date is? Month and day? That's about all you did there. You don't make progress by shutting other people out. If you want to truly be inclusive, you're not going to be like people at Evergreen State in Olympia, Washington to say no whites day and kicking out a professor because he decided he wanted to show up for work. It's just wrong. If Martin Luther King Jr. saw what was happening today, he'd be turning in his grave. I'll say the same thing about evangelical Christians in this country too. If Jesus saw what was going on today with them, he would be flipping tables all over again. It's ridiculous. One of the biggest things that drove me nuts was everyone who were Christian were like, God told me to vote for Donald Trump. That just drove me nuts. Because I'm sure there are Democrats on the other side that were saying God told me to vote for Hillary. I'm sure that's rare, but that's what happened. Now listen, I'm not like anti-religious. In fact, I still hold true to a lot of the religious background that I grew up with. I think everything has its good and bad. The hypocrisy is there, but that's called being human. The human is hypocrisy. That's just how it is. You're born into hypocrisy, you live in hypocrisy, and you die in hypocrisy. So all that aside, I don't think God told you to vote for Trump. I think, and there's a lot of people who weren't Christian that voted for Trump too. I thought they should. I don't think that God necessarily cares about politics. There's an interesting hot take for you. Because it doesn't matter. Don't matter. Don't matter. Doesn't. Because it's going to be the way it is for as long as it's going to be. And this obsession right now that the left and the media has with Donald Trump. You made this guy president because that's all who you talked about. That's all you talked about. Every day. What's Trump doing next? It really turned into the Truman Show for Trump. His reality show never got canceled. He just moved it to another channel and changed up the format a little bit. And now, by the time that he got elected, there was already 2, and now I think I saw another cartoon on HBO, 3 shows about him. You made this guy. Because I remember Republicans being like, no, don't. He was driving the Republican candidates nuts with his crap. You made this guy. And you continue to make this guy because of your sad and pathetic obsession with this guy. I saw it coming. That's why I got off Facebook, because everyone was just talking about him all the time. And I was like, where are we going to have normal lives? I just don't want to talk about him anymore. I don't want to talk about politics at all anymore. I just want to have a discussion with somebody about something. Anything. Music, television shows that they like, movies they like, what's your favorite activity, blah, 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 anything like that. But nope, no politics. Unfortunately, though, they're like, the newest, and I think it has to do with just the fact that everyone's directing every single conversation to him. Like you're in the store or something. You're at an ice cream shop. And you're like, oh man, this flavor of ice cream is really good. Yeah, it's really good. You know what flavor's not good though? Donald Trump. You're like, what? I was just talking about ice cream. And you're bringing up Donald Trump? I don't give a shit. Politics don't matter. No one cares about your opinion unless you have lots of money. And you don't. And that's a huge problem too. Because everyone's sitting there complaining about certain rights for certain minorities, certain rights that are being taken away from minorities. They're talking about all these sort of social justice problems, the old SJWs, if you will. Bringing up stuff that don't matter. No one thinks about on a regular basis. People cannot eat. In the United States of America, people cannot feed themselves. And you're worried about diversity in television shows. Do you realize how batshit insane you sound? I got an article right here. I pull it up. I think it's from the Washington Post, so it's going to be credible for everyone. Let's see. 46% of Americans said they don't have enough money to cover a $400 emergency expense. $400. And remember the old $1,000 emergency fund? That number is almost double from the 400 number. There used to be a thing where you had when you first got your first ever job, you saved up $1,000 for a $1,000 emergency fund. You can't do that anymore. And those numbers seem kind of small when you think about it, but think about it in the stance of 350 million people, give or take. It's astounding. It really is. People can't eat. And you're telling me that women are systematically treated like second-class citizens. And I know I'm pissing off certain writers at the Lynn Benton Community College Commuter that I used to work with right now. Oh boy. You want to talk about virtue signaling and white knighting? This guy. I made a top 10. I made a jokey top 10 list like David Letterman to put on the opinion page about how men are infantile in nature, which they are, and 100% nowadays, because no one grows up. Nobody's a grown-up anymore. And that's part of the problem, because when you have a discussion, you have to throw a temper tantrum if you don't get your way. Anyways, though, this guy was telling me that I sounded like one of those guys on that incels page on Reddit, which those guys actually say some really disturbing shit. And I knew when I was writing it, it was probably going to ruffle some feathers. So I wrote it. I had my mom read it. I had her sit in front of me and read it. I sent it to my sisters, who read it. Maybe I didn't. I thought I did. Anyways, I know for sure, though, I sat in front of my mom, who read it. She thought it was hilarious. And this guy tears me a new one, telling me that I'm some sort of hateful bigot towards women. Who the shit are you to decide anyways, bro? Yeah, I said bro. I don't care. I'll sound like me if I want. Because sometimes you have to access your inner meathead. But who cares? Alright, my family is full of some strong women. And they're the ones who raised me, usually. Generally. I mean, obviously my dad was there. I'm just saying. My dad's mom, an amazingly strong woman. My sisters, strong women. My mom, strong women. I value their opinion. That's why I asked them about that article, and they thought it was funny. I valued it. I took it to heart. I did it. My illustrious girlfriend, she is an amazing person. She's got an attitude like a bat out of hell, and I love every minute of it. I don't hold her back. I'm not bigoted that way. I'm just a normal guy. Don't bother me, won't bother you. That's all that should matter. Problem is, people who are like these extreme lefties, and I'm not gonna say extreme righties, because they are also getting in my way in response to the left. I ain't either of them. It ain't me. It ain't me. I'm led by reason. I try to be, at least. I mean, obviously I'm gonna have some biases, but that's just like everyone. I think the biggest hypocrisy is denying any bias whatsoever. I heard one time, I heard recently about, I think it was from Elon Musk himself. I know I heard it on a couple other podcasts. But Elon Musk was talking about his driverless delivery trucks. And talking about, well, how are you going to deal with all that job loss? Because a huge chunk of the nation's economic wealth and jobs come from delivery drivers. And he said there would definitely have to be some sort of universal basic income. Now, the inner libertarian in me says, how are you going to pay for that? You got to raise taxes in this current system. Or you have to have those companies that are making all that money off the driverless trucks stipend all the former workers that used to drive a truck to get more money. I don't know why I'm sounding like a midnight jazz DJ, but I like it. But he made a very compelling case. Especially when it's things like paying the rent for a place and paying to feed yourself. I know that for me personally, doing what I want to do is very important. That's why I'm doing this podcast. That's why I want to do this podcast. Why it drives me crazy when I can't. And I'm working jobs that don't pay the bills, that take up all my time, and I can't get better at the things I want to get better at. Because I for sure ain't ready to take this podcast in the big time. This got a lot of developing to do. I wish I was really good. But this is how I get good. I practice. This is how I practice. But I can't practice enough. Because I'm too busy having to make sure my basic needs are met. Now, generally, I would say, yeah, a little hard work will do you good. This is why I'm working hard at this, though. But if the money's there and the ability to earn cash, or at least have your rent paid so you have a place to stay, some space to live in, and you can feed yourself good food that makes you feel good and healthy, then you have time to do all the other stuff that you can possibly make money on. Now, I know there's plenty of people out there that do not have a good work ethic at all, and they'll just take that free money and call it good. But I think that if they are not worrying about the rent, and they're being fed healthily, and they feel healthy, they'll do something. They'll do something. And of course, there can be measures put into place to avoid getting those funds earmarked for wrong things like drugs or booze or whatever. I don't see nothing wrong with a little bit of driver money being sent for a nice little PBR. That's not what I would spend it on. I would spend it on something to make this podcast something worthwhile to listen to, everybody. Sorry, but it's just the way it is. But someone presented a well thought out, a practical, a reasonable idea. And I at least gave it the time of day to listen to it and think, okay, not a bad idea. There will be some kinks to work out, but if it has to happen, it has to happen. And I'm cool with that. But that shit ain't allowed on a college campus. That shit ain't allowed in the media. It ain't even allowed to say on a bus anymore. And there's people smoking crack next to you. It's actually true. I was on the trolley the other day, and some lady was smoking crack right next to me. And I was like, I'll put up with a lot of stuff, but this ain't it. But if I had all my bills paid, I believe I'm a relatively ambitious person. I would go after it. I would spend all my money on a decent studio to give you a decent podcast. I would spend it on video equipment to give you a decent movie. I would do it. And there are people like that have bigger work ethics than me that could do great things, better things, make everyone else rich if they were given the opportunity to not have to meet their very basic survival needs. But who knows? Maybe we'll see, maybe we'll don't. But the fact that anyone was surprised that Donald Trump won the presidency is shocking all in itself to me. You had a candidate so flawed that she blatantly rigged the election against your guy Bernie, and you went with it and was all hashtag I'm with her, and I was just like hashtag dunce. That's my only response. Because Bernie Sanders sold out and he bought in. He did it all. After the lady rigged the election against Bernie Sanders. The primaries, I should say. And you're shocked that Trump won. You had a candidate so flawed that rather than keep up the status quo with her, they decided as a citizenry, and sorry, Mom, turn down this podcast, but they decided to give a fuck you vote to the government. They would rather vote in a reality television star that went public and said, I pointed out politicians, I paid for you, I paid for you, I paid for you. He opened the gate telling everyone that rich people are in cahoots, I guess, for a less cartoonish word. I can't think of it right now, but in cahoots with rich people to create the laws and manipulate the laws and lobby against certain laws and lobby for certain laws. He exposed everyone. They would rather vote in Donald Trump than vote in Hillary. And you want to call Donald Trump unpresidential when you had Hillary Clinton that has so much contempt for the U.S. citizenry that she went in a public forum like a speech and said that anyone who votes for Trump is deplorable. She said that to the people that she supposedly wants to have vote for her. They would rather inject poison into the system than keep the cancer that's currently in office. And Hillary had a machine behind her. A machine. And yet Donald Trump still won. And some people are still shocked and can't see how Hillary could have lost. I honestly was shocked because I thought the Hillary machine would have won anyways. They would have just powered it right through. Yep, she won. Made history. First woman president. There it is, guys. Enjoy it. But instead, people went with the nuclear option. Because that's literally how desperate and the only choice they had. Was to vote for a borderline lunatic. Than have Hillary Clinton as their president. And that's why you made Donald Trump the president. And I'm talking to you, the media. I'm talking to you, Hollywood. Boy, is Hollywood getting cleaned out, aren't they? The Weinstein effect has a ripple that is just envious of the largest rock splashing into the ocean. Cleaned out. Cleaned out. And honestly, it seems really off-putting as someone who wants to go in there, cash in my chips, and get out of Hollywood to even go in the first place. So I was like, is this what I gotta deal with every day? But you know what? I just gotta keep reminding myself that these people are getting out of here, and it's gonna be there's going to be a vacuum involved, and you got to make sure that good people are the ones that are gonna fill it. And I think there are. I think that with the people that are leaving, just as good people are coming in. And Hollywood's going to change. But for the longest time, They're the ones that share the same contempt for the people as the U.S. government, and they work in tandem with the government too. I've talked about it for a long time. Other people have talked about it for a long time, before I was even born too. You see, there's nothing new under the sun. That's why the argument about 2000 it being a current year is such a dumb argument. But that's all people in the college ages don't. That's all they got. Because they sit there and they don't know what the hell they're talking about. When I think of myself at 18, I was a cocky a-hole. I thought I had it all figured out. And that was when I was in my prime political involvement. I was reading books left and right about politics. I was watching the news every day. Listening to talk radio every day. I was in it. I thought I knew everything. And I was more naive than I even imagined. And these people are also voters. My girlfriend and I, we went to the mall the other day. I got a cruiser board deck for my birthday. For Christmas. And I needed some grip tape. So I went to... I hate that I'm saying this. All my skater brothers will understand. I went to Zoomies. I know. I went to Zoomies. I need a grip tape. I need it fast. I need it cheap. So Zoomies, you're like the Planet Fitness, I guess, of skateboard shops. You're fast, you're cheap, you're easy. I would have called you a hooker, but I thought it'd be nice. So we went to Zoomies. I go in there, and I said, "Hey man, how's it going?" It's like, "Oh yeah, no man, I'm good. How are you, man? What can I do for you today?" I'm like, okay, like, ease up on the energy there. Ease up on the energy. I said, "I'm just looking for some grip tape. I need grip tape for my my board, nothing fancy. I also just prefer, even on boards that I do tricks on, I prefer a less grippy tape. I like it a little more slick, so my feet don't get stuck to it all the time because I have giant feet." It's like, "Oh man, yeah, totally, yeah, okay, oh yeah. What can I get? Well, we got Mob Grip." I was like, "Yeah, obviously, because everyone has Mob Grip, because Mob Grip." I said, "That's exactly the opposite of the grip tape I'm looking for. Mob Grip is too grippy. I need Iron Horse. I usually prefer Iron Horse." "What?" "Yeah, man. Yeah, but what about this clear grip tape? Mob Grip. You got the Grizzly Grip. It's dope. It's so dope. Yeah, it's dope. That's totally dope. You can get all these dope colors. You can no, we the Iron Horse. We got the Iron Horse hardware. That's pretty dope too." And I said, "All right, man. Cool down the energy. I'm looking for Iron Horse grip tape. You got it?" "Nah, man. I don't think Iron Horse even makes grip tape." And I'm like, "Yeah, not true, because I got it on my board at home." "Nah, man, we just got the hardware." "All right, cool, thanks." First of all, people need to stop saying dope, and that's completely 100% obvious. That's absolutely a fact. Because whenever I hear someone say, "Oh man, dope, that's so dope," I'm like, so all you're telling me is you're a dope? Because if you say that, then that's probably what you are, because you can't think of a better word. That's cool. It's cool. It's awesome. It's really great. It's really functional. Those are better words than dope. I may be around your age, but I have no idea what those words mean. especially when you overuse it like that. All right? Stop trying to be such a hip joint. All right? I don't understand this obsession with, oh, this is a really hip joint. This is a great joint. Yeah, I don't. People probably don't call it joints. I call it joints. I don't care. It's a place. A place that's trying to be cool. So after that, me and my illustrious girlfriend went to San Diego, which is like the Zoomies, but a local Zoomies, I should say, one that's only to the greater San Diego County area. I walk in there and it's even worse than Zoomies. I walk in there and this guy starts saying dope too. They're like, hey man, what can I get for you? Oh, we got I was like, grip tape. Just give me grip tape. I just want to come in, give you money, get out. Because I can't handle this high energy right now. I am very tired. And even if I wasn't tired, it would just have enough energy to give you a metatarsal into your mandible. It's like, okay, man, yeah, we got this one with like the money sign. We got like this one over here that's like a grizzly grip tape. It's so sweet, man. He's like, we got one that's clear. We got this one over here. And I was like, okay, whatever, man. I see one that says creature on it. I'm a creature fiend, creature for life. The grip tape looked like it wasn't too sticky, so I'll go with that one. And then this girl walks up. She's like, oh my gosh, that's sick. What kind of boards do you ride? I was like, I don't know. I don't go with brands. I mean, I'm not some sort of skateboarding hipster, but I don't really have much of a choice like with shoes. I have big feet. I just have to go with whatever fits. So I was like, I don't know. Creature usually has bigger sizes. Bacon usually has bigger sizes. Oh, that's sick, that's sick, that's sick, that's sick. Got any more? Any more brands? I was like, no. No, I can't think of any. I mean, I just go with what's the most... oh, that's so sick, that's sick. That's so sick. Literally every word was that sick. Just like the guy upstairs at Zoomy saying dope. And I was like, are you sick? Do you have a stutter? Because it sounds like you got one. Otherwise, you're trying too hard. You're trying too hard to be cool, which makes you not cool. And that's coming from me, who is like the least cool person in the world. I'm not even saying I'm cool. I'm such a dork. I'm such a dork. I'm sitting here right now in front of a microphone trying to limp my way through a podcast. I know what a podcast is. But anyways, for you skateboarders out there, don't go to Zoomies. Don't go to San Diego. Don't buy Thrasher t-shirts anymore. Go to your nearest town's skate shop. The skate shop that's the only one in existence. And buy from them. And luckily I have a friend that came up with a new skate shop himself. And created his own company called Six Pack Skateboards. They have everything from that you'll find in Zoomies, but from an actual skateboarder who created it. They got koozies, they got sweatshirts, they got t-shirts, they got boards, great boards, because a real skateboarder actually bought the boards and created the boards. He knows his way around the boards. I'm saying boards a lot, but I'm trying to get that in your brain to go buy from my buddy Shay at Six Pack Skateboards. I'm doing a really aggressive commercial read, but I'm trying to get this in your brain. That you need to buy from him and support small businesses that actually care about what they do, and they're not just trying to peddle shit. And that's what he does. He knows his way around a board. He knows what skateboarders need the most in a board, and he gives it to you. It's that simple. For very cheap prices. Somewhat cheap. I mean, come on. He's got to make some money, right? He's got to get that armored vehicle, bringing in that bag of cash. Probably not an armored vehicle, but he's got to up his bank account. And of course, when it's a new business, you got to try to get as quick to a profit as possible. Actually, they're pretty cheap, actually, and they're good quality. He makes the t-shirts himself, which is huge, because he actually puts his energy and his passion in it. Thank you, Lemmy. You know, I'm trying to get going with this podcast, right? So I can feed you. I already said at the top of the show. But anyways, go Six Pack Skateboards. Buy whatever you need for a skateboard. Hey, if you're learning for the first time, go to him. They'll figure it out. He'll set you up. He might do lessons. Probably not, but who cares? Six Pack Skateboards can be found on Facebook and Instagram. Just on Instagram, search Six Pack, the words, SIXPACK _ skateboards. And you'll find his Instagram page, and he's also on Facebook at Six Pack Skateboards. 2 S's at the end. So SIXPACK skateboards and an S. And he will hook you up with all the thrashing, shredding goodness. So, if you want to have a good time, put a 6-pack in your stomach and chase it with one under your feet. You're welcome, Shay. I just gave you a slogan. So I was talking about keeping my blood pressure. This is why I can't talk about this stuff, because I just gave it a very aggressive commercial read. But but I have to give one big hurrah to my quote political career, because you know what? Ever since I quit Facebook and ever since I stopped following politics, I've been a much happier person, and I feel great. I feel less defensive. I feel less aggressive in that defensiveness. I feel less stressed out, I guess, because in the end, it's fine. It's fine. We've been here before. We'll get through it. And I know Mark Maron has been talking a lot lately about Donald Trump and the way the world is now on his podcast and how much it fills him with panic and fear. And Mark, I know you won't listen to this, but to all the people who are like him, I can sometimes be that way too. In fact, I was actually feeling a little nervous about the podcast rust after taking almost a year off and trying to do this again. Because I always want to get better. I always want to be improving, and I want to be the best at what I do. And I know right now I'm not the best, but I'll get there. But to you guys, like Mark Maron, it's fine, man. It'll get better. Promise. I love y'all. We've been through this. Let me tell you something. The right side of the aisle was exactly like this when Obama was president. They were freaked out. And that's actually not always a bad thing, because you do need some sort of vigilance politically, or else then the government will really take over. And they have every reason to, because it makes them money. Today I got change from a $10 bill, and it said, this was actually really funny, because it was like, do not use this dollar bill to bribe politicians. And I'm like, as if they care about a $10 bill. They want to be rolling in them Benjamins. They don't care about $10 bill. Of course they're going to throw that away if you try to bribe them with that. They don't even probably want to know what a $10 bill looks like. They think a $100 bill is the smallest denomination of American currency. And that's all it is. It's not capitalism anymore. And unfortunately, as much as the college system likes to tell you that capitalism is the problem and the result of all the evils in the world, it's not. It's not a failed experiment. You could argue that socialism and communism is more of a failed experiment than capitalism. Capitalism, much like the government, as Thomas Paine says, is a necessary evil. Because sometimes capitalism isn't always great. Sometimes the result is poor. It's crony capitalism that's the real problem. They make it worthwhile financially for governments and corporations to work together. And that's what keeps a lot of the nation's wealth away from the citizens. That's not true capitalism. That's cronyism, lobbyism, whatever you want to call it. That's what it is. That's a big problem. And you're seeing it today. People use it as an excuse to make fun of Ronald Reagan's trickle-down economics. Unfortunately, that's pretty true. Because even with trickle-down, a direct trickle-down, the pool at the top is usually the one that's the most full. What people mean by trickle-down economics, though, is trickle-down job creation. The problem is, when Reagan was president, the value of the dollar hadn't plummeted so hard and fast as it has now. And any job was a good job. And any job paid the bills. And any job was able to raise kids in the suburbs. But that's not how it is anymore. One person alone can't even pay their own damn bills with 3 jobs. All in the vein of money-saving efforts. But it's because government and corporations have worked together and created a system where they keep all the money, and then when they give it out, they get it right back for taxes. They didn't do any of the work. The citizens did the work. Citizens earned their money. And honestly, that's what's so vile about the illegal immigration debate. Yeah, I'm going to go there. My family talked about it for a long time. And we honestly think that modern day slavery is alive, and it's in the form of under the table, piss poor low wages of the Mexican illegal immigrants. You see, the left would have you believe that the people on the right are just trying to keep out people out of bigotry. But instead, they want to let them in properly so they can have the proper opportunity that is afforded in this country we call the United States of America. Because if they are under the table, if they are illegal, they're certainly not getting paid a minimum wage. They're certainly not going to get any Social Security benefits. No tax refunds if you get one. I mean, I guess you don't have to pay any taxes. That's nice, but nothing that is afforded to them that everyone else gets. In fact, I think it's more inhumane and more bigoted to not make it easier for good people from other countries to get in and work. But unfortunately, it's in too deep. Do I think people are in this country working and living their lives here need to be deported? Hell no. But they should be proper citizens so they can get money or get as much money like the rest of everyone. The left and the media would have you believe that's not a very conservative ideology, Sean. That may be true, but again, I'm not led by what a party line thinks. I'm led by what I think. Believe it or not, I actually have great pride in this country. Why do I sound so solemn? Probably just because I'm thinking of what I'm trying to say. I have great pride in this country. I really do. I think it's one of the best countries, if not the best damn country in the world. And don't let some sort of Aaron Sorkin, Jeff Daniels speech sway you. That's the shit that drives me crazy. It's not a movie. A TV show of a guy's opinion. A guy from a warped culture of Hollywood with an opinion about what he thinks of the country. Is there stuff that we falter on? Yeah. Every country has shit they falter on. But there's still a reason, even with all the flaws the United States has right now in our current world, there's still a reason why people are coming from their own homeland to come here. It's still a place of opportunity. It's still a place of potential success in life. It's a place with particular freedoms. And in general, lack of everyday violence. Say for Chicago, if you will. And other places. There are other places in the world that are extremely violent that people have to get away from. Why do you think Mexicans and Cubans want to be here so bad? Number one is the value of our dollar. Even as shitty situation it is now, it's still way more in their country. It goes a farther way. We're the only country with an area that has a climate of snow in the winter, beauty in the summer, and beaches, and desert, and cornfields. From coast to coast, there's a little bit of everything. A lot of rich history. A lot of rich, sordid history, but great history at the same time. There's nothing wrong with being proud where you come from. Like I said, I'm now around Mexicans a lot. Those people are proud as shit where they come from. And you see them when they're around in Oregon too. A lot of my listeners are in Oregon. A lot of people don't realize how much their home country means to them. With tattoos on their backs, with the flag on their cars. They would scare some of the college kids now that are afraid of nationalism because of how much they love where they come from. I don't think there's anything wrong with when people go with, hey, America, America, blah, 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 blah. It's like, well, if you want to mock the country so bad, you don't have to be here. It's a great country. But if you don't want to be here, try another one. There are moments where I don't want to be here either, and I want to move. And I might. But you just got to wait it out. Mr. Marin and people like him, it's fine. It's fine. We'll get through this. The problem is the United States are currently going through this weird suburban teen angsty Kurt Cobain in the 90s sort of self-loathing of themselves in this country, and that's another problem that causes governments to want to take advantage of that, because they sit there and say, oh, well, they even hate this country anyway, so let's just destroy it anyways. It's pretty sad when you think about it. Because how can you hate somewhere that you're from so much? Especially when even people who've immigrated here, and they didn't want to immigrate, but they did. And they're like, I love it here, but I also miss my homeland. people would be leaving this country with middle fingers blazing, not knowing what they're getting themselves into. The problem is we need equal opportunity, not equal outcome. Because equal outcome creates discrimination. Equal opportunity takes away discrimination. And if I'm some sort of alt-right Nazi because of that, that's great. Because at least I know what I believe isn't from a place of contempt and malice. Or maybe not contempt, because I do love people. I really do. I think they're capable of great things because I'm a people. I know we're capable of terrible things too because I'm a people. And that's why I have so much contempt when people just are stupid. They say and do stupid things. They're so blind to their own side, they don't even think for themselves. They're just like, what are they telling me on MSNBC? What are they telling me on Fox News? What are the buzzwords? What are the non-buzzwords? What are the talking points I can scream in your face? We're not even having a real conversation. You can't have a conversation anymore. You can't. You just can't. Even in a time where it's supposed to be brought up, you can't. Because they shut you out. Because you don't agree with them. Equal opportunity destroys discrimination. Equal outcome creates it. And that's what you're seeing today. I mean, there's no doubt there's backlash against white people. And there's no doubt that white people are also, in defense, going back against black people, which is ridiculous. And people still say, oh, it's 2018. It's 2018. We should be better than that. That's really your only argument? My question is, why does this keep happening? We're not any better off than we were with anyone 100 years ago. We have more technology. We have more convenience in technology. But humans have had a huge problem evolving that way. Because it's in our DNA to be so tribal and find familiarity. I've even found that in my own lizard brain. I'm in an area that has not a lot of white people. I'm like, man, don't I wish I can talk about even country music for once? Not really. I can never talk about country music unless it's to talk crap about it. Although Lynyrd Skynyrd, I'm cool talking about. And I know for a fact when my girlfriend was up in Oregon, she was missing having someone to speak in Spanish with. It's just the way it is. You're more comfortable where you're more familiar. It's that kind of thinking of trying so hard to be tolerant and unignorant, if that's even a word, that you say things to a Mexican like, maybe you should have that sombrero for her since it's Cinco de Mayo. Don't you miss your family today because it's Cinco de Mayo? Oh, let me play some Cuban music. I'm sure you like that. Those are all things that were said to my girlfriend while she was working at Market of Choice by supposedly tolerant white people from an enlightened, progressive town of Corvallis, Oregon. And that shit makes me sad, because you have to be a spokesperson for your people and dispel any sort of stereotype or misconception when it's all really down to an individual basis. However, in general, Cinco de Mayo is actually a really white person holiday. Most holidays are now too, anyways. People can't eat. People can't afford a good diet. They can't afford to even pay their damn rent. You're shoving them into schools. make you sit at a desk 8 hours a day. This is how you're supposed to live. We're supposed to make the money. You're just supposed to be the drone bees, the worker bees. But no, I want to be a queen bee. I'm secure enough in my masculinity, I can say I'll be a queen. The queen bee is the baddest bitch of them all. Hell yeah, I want to be the queen bee. She's the one that reaps all the benefits. I want to be that. I want the opportunity to do that. It's not a race thing. It's socioeconomic. I didn't come from money. Heck, when I was a junior in high school and I didn't make the varsity basketball team, I knew it was because who my parents were, and they couldn't write a check to put me on the team. I thought I was not. I thought I was good enough to be on varsity. I probably could have been a swinger on sophomore. Do I resent it? No, because I understood what was going on. I understood that I got politicked out of that. It's socioeconomics. The poor people are desperate. The poor people want the money. You give them a little bit and make them think they're living comfortable lives. That's how it's always worked. But they want to say it's about race. It's about white people holding them down. I don't believe I've been afforded the same opportunities as a lot of white people. I don't think I've been afforded the same opportunities as a lot of minority people. The difference is socioeconomics. I never came from money. The people who do, they're the ones who get the opportunities. You have to work extra hard to bust through. Now, are there certain people who come from money that may be white? Probably. Large percentage of them are. Because there was a time where that's what it was. Like the slave owners and such. They were the ones with all the money. They were the ones trying to keep the money. That's why we fought the Civil War. Or a big reason why, not the reason, but there is that. And is lingering now, sure. There are certain aspects where these rich white kids probably never grew up seeing anyone else but themselves or people like them. So it's more jarring to see someone so different. That's why if I go in, I don't come from money. I don't look like I come from money. I'm a piece of white trash. But he probably looks at me the same as some average Joe black guy, average Joe Mexican guy, average Joe Indian guy. Doesn't matter. It's socioeconomics. Poor people are the ones who are looked down on. And they're the ones that are most resented. Hillary Clinton didn't even go to the Midwest. One of the biggest demographics that would help her win. Donald Trump went almost every damn day. Hollywood likes to mock and make fun of small town America. The Midwest, the South. Even though those are the very people that make them the most money. And all they see is that resentment and contempt for them, that they're the problem. While celebrities sit there and lecture them at award shows for themselves because their heads are so far up their colons. They blame the Midwest for Donald Trump winning. They blame the South for being too stupid to vote. They voted against you. You made him president. Your plan backfired hardcore. Hopefully when Hollywood finally gets all the rapists out, there'll be a little bit of reason injected into it. Maybe they won't have so much sway anymore. Hopefully there's a new generation that will come in and actually make Hollywood something worth something now. A place that They like to portray themselves as a place full of art and culture. Maybe they'll actually become that. I don't think I'm going to lead any charge. I don't think I'm going to be a big player, but I'd like to be any part of it as possible. I often thought at first, I was like, shit, did I come at the wrong time? I'm not a rapist, but did I come at the wrong time where Hollywood's going down? No, it's coming down. It's going to be rebuilt, though. Just like the country as a whole. By the way, what I meant earlier when I was talking about Trump being a poison, I more thought of him as chemotherapy. There's a cancer, and he's the poison that kills everything just in order to make your body rebuildable again. Because that's what's going to happen. And it's fine. It's fine, Mr. Marin and friends like him. We've been here before. We've actually been in worse states than before. Do you imagine what it'd be like what the citizens thought if they knew everything about what was going on in the Civil War? Where the country almost split in half? That was an ideological war. The Revolutionary War was an ideological war. We can be happy that the bloodshed isn't as big as it could be, because it could be huge. Imagine. We're like the most nuclear-powered... Yeah, you notice I said nuclear, not nuclear. I can't even say it the wrong way. Nuclear. We're like one of the biggest nuclear-powered militaries in the world. You think what would happen if it turned on itself? The United States would be glowing off the map. But we're not doing that. It might be getting there because people are so vitriolic at each other in their own speech towards each other, their own talking. They can't even sit down at a bar and have a beer and hash shit out. Instead, they're worried about how many Instagram followers they have, how many likes they have on the picture of their ass in a thong bikini. And those are the people that are voting. Or not voting. Give them a reason to vote. I voted third party, though. I don't think I threw my vote away. That was the biggest FU vote that I could think of. I did my civic duty, but not in the way you wanted me to. The lesser of two evils is still evil, by the way. I mean, think about it. You're like, well, Hitler only killed 6 million Jews, but Mao killed hundreds of millions of Chinese people. They both have really good points, but if you crunch in the numbers, I mean, Hitler did kill less people, so let's go with him. Lesser evil is still evil. Still got evil in the title. And I personally don't think I should be tied to having a vote for the lesser of evil if I don't want to. That's what I believe is my right as an American citizen. Isn't that why we have our system the way it is? A built-in gridlock where a protest vote is a vote. It's not just thrown away. Politics is poison now. Talking about politics is tough waters to tread, to say it lightly. And that's why I'm done. Because I'm just going to go live my life as unaffected as I can be. If you don't bother me, I won't bother you. That's how it should be. I get to spend the money the way I see fit. You get to spend your money the way you see fit. If you're not hurting anyone, what's it matter? Live and let live, but that's an ideology that's crazy and unreasonable and bigoted somehow, and I don't know. But they changed the language. The language creates the understanding of culture. Change the language, you change the culture. And that's what they've done. They've added pronouns, gender pronouns. Instead of actually worrying about having a functional education system and colleges that make people ready for the workforce or ready to be successful, or hell, high schools that teach you anything about life, anything at all, doesn't prepare you for college. College is glorified high school because at the beginning of the first 2 years, you have to take all the general ed classes you should have taken in high school. But instead of actually studying for what I want to do, we slept on the women's gender studies, didn't we all? While we were making fun of them, they were out creating a new entire dictionary of gender pronouns. And now you're trying to make me study for it like it's finals. I'm not taking your class. I don't need to study it. I don't care. Unfortunately, there are only 2 genetic manifestations of what we understand to be gender. XX, XY. Maybe we should just start separating that way. My gender is XX. My gender is XY. You can't identify as DD unless you got big boobs. I don't know why I used that letter. That was a bad idea. But you can't characterize as another letter because there's only 2 sets that you can pick. I'll give you that you can do the other one if you're an XY and you want to be an XX, whatever. Who cares? Doesn't bother me. Doesn't hurt me. It's not lethal to my life. But what are you doing? Creating a brand new dictionary for us all to try to keep up with. That makes no sense whatsoever. It's just a book of nonsense. Which one is it? Is science rule all, or does it mean nothing? Because science tells us that gender isn't as fluid as we like to believe it to be. It's not super rigid, but in rare cases it could be more fluid. But it's not. It's not completely you identifying as a tiny chihuahua some days. It's not how it works. I wish that's how it works, because some days I'd like to be like a silverback gorilla that can throw a house. That'd be fun. But that ain't how it works. I'm not sort of an anti-intellectual. In fact, I'm a little sad because it seems like the new culture that has infiltrated our society is the real anti-intellectualism. Because you can't talk about anything anymore. You can only talk about what you agree with. The real learning, the real shaving of the edges, the real smoothing out of things comes from the disagreements. Iron sharpens iron. But you can't talk about it anymore. You just can't. Feel censored. People feel censored. It's why they're going hardcore on the making snowflakes mad. Using the term snowflakes. Saying offensive things just because they want to be offensive. To undo the damage that the PC movement has done. Because the PC movement is pretty much just straight censoring people. There are certain words that create malice. You don't have to be malicious in intent until maybe you say those words. Because it might trigger something in your brain. So yeah, things like the N-word. Other racial slurs for other minority groups. people with disabilities, developmental disabilities, physical disabilities, and such. There are words that create malice, and it is good to get those out of the linguistic zeitgeist. Yes, I just used a big word. 2, actually. I'm pretty proud of myself. Anyways, there are certain words to get out of the linguistic zeitgeist. And there are other words that's just too much of a stretch. Words, phrases, actions. You're just grasping at straws. And that's the problem, what I mean by Kurt Cobain 90s suburban teen angst. Find something to do. Just something. Alright? Because stuff comes up. I'm sitting here ranting at my girlfriend. Here's a reason why I have the podcast again. Because I'm ranting about all this other shit. I'm ranting about this shit. I'm screaming and yelling, getting worked up. And all I hear is, just restart your podcast. And I said, I do enjoy that. It's a good way to get myself off the edge mentally. Off the edge of the, I'm going to snap cliff. And it's not, I'm going to snap and be violent, but I'm going to snap and I can't take anymore. I got to just swim in the ocean until I can't anymore. And this isn't sadness or bitterness. It's just like, none of this makes sense anymore. I'm going to go to a different reality. It's more just an escape. It's not sadness. It's not depression. It's not bitterness. It's just, good Lord, what I grew up seeing is apparently not what I'm seeing anymore. So I'm just going to go away now. College and the culture outgrew me. Or maybe I outgrew it, but I think it outgrew me. Because I'm not complying with what they want me to do necessarily, because 1, I don't believe it, and 2, it's like, I know other people don't believe it, and 3, it's like, why should they believe it if they don't? People can believe what they want to believe. That's what's great about being able to express those beliefs too. People believe what they want to believe. You know, I wish this show had a real, legitimate format. Because I'm just meandering like a crazy person. It's all stream of consciousness, but this is how it kind of started. I guess you can say that's what Into the Void really means. Going into the void of your mind. Pulling out the stream of consciousness that's going through the cosmos. And trying to weed out any sense in this world and what drives you crazy today. Let's rant about it in a microphone and send it to the public to judge. Other people call it crazy. I call it honing my craft. Oh boy. What are we going to do, guys? It's okay, Mr. Marin and friends. It's okay. I know. I understand the panic, the worry, the unknown that you're feeling right now. The scarcity and transparency and knowledge. But it's no reason to fret. We'll get through this. And I only had to get out of politics to come to that conclusion. That we'll get through this. Because when you're able to actually stop and think about it, you're like, oh, it's not so bad after all. Of course, there's good and bad that comes with every president. Obama wasn't perfect. He wasn't the worst president ever, but he certainly wasn't perfect. Same with Bush. Same with Clinton. Same with Reagan, Carter, everyone before that. It's fine. We'll be fine. Of course, you don't want to fall asleep, but the guy's not Satan. The guy's not Hitler. Is it scary, some of the supporters that are coming out? Yeah, it is. It was scary when there were feverish Obama supporters. There were feverish supporters for Clinton and Bush Sr. and everyone else. There was plenty of those people. People who are mentally ill are going to be mentally ill no matter who's in office. And if a mentally ill person's in office, fantastic. At least there's a representative for them now. Do I think it's over? No. It'll be fine. Since the beginning of time, humans have had some sort of eschatology where they think when they're on the deathbed, the world is. Because that's all you know. People think the world's going to end while they live. It's happened many times and it won't. Empires came, empires went. It sucks being in the era of time that empires do end. But maybe a huge crash in technology might help us out. We might actually be able to regroup as a people. I think that's Lemmy telling me to wrap it up. Hey! Be quiet. I'm trying to feed you with this podcast here. I think that... Hey, Lemmy. I think it'll be okay. I really do. And if not, and if some... Hey! I apologize, everybody. I owe you a beer. I don't drink it, but I know that you will. But, it'll be okay, everybody. Disconnect sometimes. Get into a positive space. And you know what, Mr. Marin and friends? If Trump does end the world, then it doesn't matter to me because I don't have to pay my school loans then. Alright, everybody. I think I'm going to wrap this one up. I think I said just about everything I say. Pissed off enough people that I've already pissed off. And maybe we'll actually have a dialogue now. We'll talk about it. But clearly, I am making my doggy mad and need to call it a day. So, wherever you are, Ryan, I hope to see you later. I hope to see you soon. Sebastian, if you come out of hiding from the terrorists, be sure to hit me up. And welcome back to Into the Void, everybody.